All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take your calls this segment and next segment. So give us a call at 877 Newsmax. Before we get to the calls, John Bachman, co-host of Newsmax Now, joins us with a special report on the recent Trump rally violence.
It was a raucous weekend on the campaign trail, especially for Donald Trump. A sucker punch thrown in North Carolina, a rally shut down in Chicago, a protester rushing the stage in Ohio.
Get him out of here. Go home to mommy.
And he's walking out like big high fives, smiling, laughing, like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Trump's critics are now using these comments as evidence he is inciting violence. Other presidential candidates on both sides say it proves he's too divisive to be commander-in-chief.
We are now seeing images on television we haven't seen in this country since the 1960s. Images that make us look like a third world country.
There is no place for this.
In any campaign, responsibility starts at the top, and it is not beneficial when you have a presidential candidate like Donald Trump telling his supporters, punch that guy in the face.
It's incredible. We have protesters, some of whom are so mean, so loud, so vicious, they stop us from really our First Amendment rights, right? Freedom of speech, you can't talk, they're screaming. There are very few of them, but they are bad. Now, you hear about a couple of, one in particular, vicious, swinging. Well, guess what happened? Our people started swinging back.
Also, Trump confirmed on Meet the Press that his campaign is looking into paying the legal fees for John McGraw, the man who swung back at that recent campaign rally in North Carolina.
I've actually instructed my people to look into it, yes.
Meanwhile, Gallup puts President Obama's approval rating now at a 3-year high, over 50%. Why? Gallup cites the unusual status of the Republican primary race and Donald Trump's campaign rhetoric and style, which, quote, may serve to make Obama look statesmanlike in comparison. History also suggests that when an incumbent president's approval numbers are above 50%, the odds for the next president to come from the same party greatly improve. And for Republicans concerned about 4 more years of a Democrat, maybe even a socialist in the White House, Trump shows no signs of pulling back, even downplaying recent events at his rallies, calling them, quote, love fests.
The people that are supporters of Donald Trump want to see America be great again. That's what it is.
One of my biggest takeaways about this is if you look at the comments from the Republican presidential candidates and the Democratic presidential candidates that we just showed you there, it seems like there is one narrative that all of them are willing to get behind to try and take Donald Trump down a notch or two and maybe even try to take him out of the race. Steve?
Yeah, very thorough report, John. I appreciate it. You know, we had Katrina Pearson, Trump spokesman, on earlier in the show, and she called it absolutely disgusting that the Republican candidates are joining with the leftist media and the Democratic candidates. They're all singing the same tune, and it's true. And I haven't heard one of them, I really haven't heard one of them mention the bloodied police officer and the other injured police officer at that canceled rally.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't expect them to, Steve. They're in a fight for their political survival right now, all of them. They're doing whatever they can to win. You know, and there is, I think, some, I don't want to say blame, but some responsibility that the Trump campaign does need to take for some of this. There are people that they are letting into these rallies who maybe shouldn't be their signs. I don't think they're responsible for the violence. That's not what I'm saying. But again, the big concern here is everybody's safety. And that is what I think the Trump campaign, they're trying to walk it up to that line, and that line can be a little bit blurry. So
you're saying they're letting people in that don't belong there on purpose?
Not that don't belong there, Steve, but I do feel like it is good for the Trump audience to help them keep everybody engaged and keep them entertained. Donald Trump even alluded to that. They want a certain amount of that element inside of these rallies so that they can have these exchanges with the audience, because it does build up the Trump base. It does get them excited, and that benefits them. It gets them out to the polls. I do feel like they want a certain amount of that inside these rallies. But of course, I don't think they want anybody to get hurt. They're not condoning the violence, but it can be a fine line between that proper amount in this formula and then too much.
Well, I'll disagree with you on that as far as them wanting those people in there, but we'll let the callers decide. Thank you very much, John. Appreciate it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, your call's next. I promise, 877 Newsmax. We're coming back. I'm sure a lot of you are going to have a lot to say.